I just wanted to come on quick to apologize that I sound a little funky today. I'm really nasally. I'm not quite sure why at the moment, but it is the winter here in Massachusetts, and who knows? I could be coming down with something. I did just come back from something a couple weeks ago, so I don't really know. But again, if my audio just sounds a little nasally or off, that's why, and I apologize. It is not the equipment. The equipment is top tier. So, anyways, enjoy the interview. All right. Hello, pickleballers. Today we are going to be chatting with Michael Wilmot of the Boston Pickleball Club. A little bit about Michael. Mike is the Chief Growth Officer at Boston Pickleball Club, providing oversight of all marketing activities across all BPC clubs to drive awareness, membership acquisition, branding, in-club experience, community engagement, corporate partnerships, and ongoing expansion to additional clubs locations within the greater Boston area. Mike is a career marketing communications professional and has held leadership roles at advertising agencies, digital marketing firms, and venture branding companies, as well as nonprofits. Mike lives with his family in Hingham, Massachusetts, and has been an avid pickleball player since 2020 and competed in the USA Pickleball Nationals in 2022. Now, listen to my chat with Michael as we talk about Boston Pickleball Club, pickleball, and a whole variety of things. All right, welcome everybody. So today I have Mike Wilmot with me of Boston Pickleball Club. And all right, let's get into it. So, all right, well, for starters, Mike, what kind of drove you to why let me rephrase that. Why
Yeah.
Boston Pickle Club?
Well, I think the road for me was a bit circuitous, and it was sort of a convergence of a number of professional and personal interests. I'm a marketing guy by trade. I had a long career working at advertising agencies, primarily digital agencies, marketing agencies, some nonprofits. I really, on the personal side, really got into pickleball like a lot of people over COVID. And I lived down on the South Shore. We had a friend with a sport court. We were all looking for something to do in the initial dark days of COVID. He had a, way we could get together outside and be relatively safe and have fun and be active. And, even playing on a plastic surface like that, I really saw the potential of the game as something I'd love to get better at. And a bunch of us sort of peeled off and started looking for places to play more, to get better, to learn. And we found what we found, but the in hindsight, the options were not great. They were either playing on cracked, crowded courts outside, or at a pickleball court or two bolted onto an existing racket court or multi-fitness center. Again, we beggars can't be choosers. We were just glad to be playing. But when I heard about Boston Pickle Club, and they had opened at this point last fall or last summer, had opened their first facility in Hyde Park, which I think you guys visited, and heard they had just signed a lease in the adjacent town of Norwell. I happened to know one of the partners, Steve Hauk, because our daughters knew each other. I reached out and said, I'm a well-connected pickleball player on the South Shore. I'd love to learn about what you're doing, but I'd love to help you get your feet under you and connect you into all my text chains, and all the people I know will be dying for the product. And as we started talking, it grew into a more deeper relationship. We raised a bunch of money from local investors that I was able to help and network with. And then we realized, because the model calls for many more clubs than just these two that are open now, there was a legitimate full-time role, called Chief Growth Officer, but the marketing aspect of that role is most of the job. And there's a lot of things that covers, but for me, it became sort of an irresistible professional pivot to join an early stage company that, in a exploding market, in a vastly underserved market. I mean, the Northeast, as I'm sure you know all these facts, we are years behind the rest of the country in terms of access to quality courts, tournaments, instruction, all of that. And there's great reasons for it. It's weather, it's cost of real estate, it's red tape. We were trying to get some outdoor courts in built down here in Hingham, and the resistance that is happening for people to live thousands of feet away from the noise side is just part and parcel to how difficult it is here versus other parts of the country to get access to great courts. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm right. This is early stage here. These guys got an incredible business model that is totally focused on pickleball. And the opportunity, presented itself, and I jumped at it. So I've been full time there doing this job just since January, but I've been working with the crew as we got Norwell ready to open, which happened in the middle of December since the fall. So I've been with the guys or with the team over there for about 6 months.
Wow. Yeah, we got to do the opening for Hyde Park, which is a little closer to where I'm at, but
Yeah.
I didn't get to do Norwell, unfortunately. The dates just didn't line up for me. But I mean, listen, if it's anything like Hyde Park, it's a beautiful club. So,
Yeah, I mean at the core, it's all about offering our members and guests an elevated playing and instruction experience. So, it's the best court surfaces, the cushion X, it's the best lighting. Johan and Stevie are, renowned racket professionals in their own right, and also are programming savants from all the stuff that they've done over their careers. Um, and and the locations that we've found, Norwell probably a little bit more so than Hyde Park, just a perfect location, a quarter mile off of Route 3, and access to the entire South Shore all the way to the Cape. We had 525 members before the doors even opened, and we're up to about 825 now. Quickly moving towards closing off the membership just because we're trying to figure out 10 courts there versus seven at Hyde
yeah.
Park, and it's more of a rectangular commercial space versus the quirkiness that Hyde Park, which is actually one of the things that makes it super cool. But you walk into Norwell, and it looks like the place was built for 10 courts, where the posts line up, and the way we've laid out the courts and the front area. We've got a huge open lounge space, great for events and for hanging out. Just got our liquor license too. So again, that's not really a huge part of the model because we're really focused on pickleball, but we also want to give our members, a good experience and some pretty basic amenities so that they can enjoy it and come back again. But Hyde Park is also been scaling there over 600 there and getting close to being full as well. So seeing that type of demand being met is really sort of cool to see. And people are, they're coming, they're joining, and they're coming back, which is what our model is all about. It's court utilization and playing, not 4 or 5, but 6 or 8 or 10 times a month or more. Those are the folks that we really grow on, and our revenue grows on, and our model grows on.
I think all of that's great. As someone that can attest to the pre-COVID days of
Yes,
pickleball in the Northeast, I remember chalking tennis courts and being yelled
exactly.
at while chalking
Right,
the tennis courts for
right,
chalking the tennis courts.
right.
So,
But that's
I'm
pickleball.
all for this war of indoor facilities we've got going on. That's really not a war compared to even some other cold places that are
Yes,
kind of have this two, threefold. And so, I kind of look at it more as we're just catching up and, maybe
exactly.
10 to 15 years we'll be at where, something like a Florida is now. But
Hmm.
at the same time, like you said, with the real estate, I don't know of any area that's going to get 40 outdoor courts in
Yeah.
New England,
I,
and
I
so
think
it's
that's an
like,
impossibility, just
yeah,
understanding the dynamics of the way these towns are structured and with town meetings and all that type of stuff, let alone the fact you're not going to be able to play on the courts for 5, 6 months out of the year.
Yeah,
So,
that's
that just sort of is what it is. And at the end of the day, what we're doing here at Boston Pickle Club, from a business perspective, it's a speed to market real estate play. Like, we got to find these diamond in the rough locations that we either lease or buy or even build if it makes sense, that allow us to scale to the point where we ultimately have 6, 8, 10 of these clubs, roughly I-95 corridor and potentially towards the city. I mean, we've looked at
here are some photos of the Boston Pickle Club in Norwell.
spaces even downtown. It's just a whole another world, but more risk, but probably more reward too. But it's finding those great locations where you have access to a huge group of people that want to play, and have also partners in the area. Part of the model also is about finding and engaging with local businesses that want to have access to this mass of active, roughly speaking, more affluent people. So it's everyone from the obvious local big sports brands down to car dealers and bar tacos and Whole Foods, and Barrel House Z in Weymouth is brewing us a beer for Norwell that's only going to be sold at Norwell. So it's activating stuff like that the members really love, but the businesses love too, because they're engaging with this new population, and they're also piggybacking on the backs of a super scaling sport, for all ages. It's not just the cliche older demographic. The Norwell Club has a massive amount of families and kids within a 5 mile radius there, and we know that it's going to be a varsity sport in the near future in Massachusetts. It's almost is in other states. So we want to be ready for that as well. And we want to be a preferred destination for kids who want to learn, kids who want to get better, kids who want to go to college to play. Parents will support things like that if it is a new way into college, for example. So we're trying to really line ourselves up, not only because of the facilities, but the instruction that Johan and Stevie and the rest of the team give, as well as the programming that just gives people a lot of different ways to come and play, is all hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, no, I definitely can attest. I know a good amount of your instructional staff.
All
And
right,
they
good.
all are spot on spectacular. So
Well,
I
that's
can
good to hear. I
definitely
appreciate
say
that. I think
that.
so too.
Yeah, of
It's sort of
course.
it's sort of our ace in the hole too, because a lot of you can always just show up anywhere and play,
Yeah.
but when you show up and someone knows your name and they take you on the court and you learn something new and you feel better about it and about yourself and you beat your friend the next day, you come back again and you tell your friends, and it sort of feeds on itself. And I've seen that happen in real time, because Norwell's only been open since 8, 9 weeks, and we're getting this type of feedback, and it's just cool because it's genuine.
Yeah, and I think that's great. So a couple of questions I
Sure.
have for you. I've seen some of them. I believe it was either AMA or APA tournaments.
Yep.
Are you guys, and it's okay if you don't know the full extent of this, but
Yep.
what is your kind of goal for the tournament scene? We'll say 2025 into 2026, just because I
Yep.
know it's changing very
Yeah.
frequently in this area. And
Yep.
so, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, we have an APA event in first week of March in Hyde Park. I believe there's another one we're looking at in midsummer, when we're also thinking about doing one in Norwell, just because there's more capacity there, both in terms of the courts and in terms of the common space, the
yeah.
comfortable open common space in between there. So it's absolutely part of the model. I mean, Stevie and Johan, to their credit, are very conscious of doing things that take courts away from members, and making sure that if it is happening, there's some value in there for, for the membership and certainly for the club as well. But it's not, we're not going to, we're going to do it very thoughtfully. But we do think there's a role for that. And it also, at the end of the day, those tournaments become member acquisition strategies for us because you have all these folks coming in who may not have played at a Boston Pickle Club before, and they're getting exposed to, to the product and potentially, word of mouth or they themselves, potentially join. So we're early enough in all of this that we're looking at everything, and just seeing how it makes sense based on, how our members are using the courts, other events, tournaments, leagues, socials that we plan every week and offer to folks, which we run with our own staff very, very well. By the way, they run like clockwork. So it's weighing all those things. We also actually are thinking about doing a junior tournament. We talked to someone today who's sort of at the forefront of that, and we'd really love to get sort of something formal, probably in the fall. That is sort of a super regional magnet tournament for kids. Duper sort of structured, but something that kids and parents will travel to play. So
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Duper because I was going to ask something about that later down the road. But I actually, and trust me, I'm sure you get that questions on that every day.
yes,
But
yep,
and so as do I, believe it or not.
sure,
But I did want to talk about. I know that for Hyde Park, part of the opening event, it was all YOLO launched, all
yep,
that. A
yep,
bit of a different time frame, just because those paddles ended up getting
yeah,
reworked, but
yes,
which we're not going to go into. But
yep.
are you guys? I don't. Is that like the planned sponsor for all the future and current Boston pickleball clubs? Or are you doing it location by location?
I would say, they're definitely, of all the partners we're working with, particularly on the gear and the equipment side, they're definitely we have the deepest relationship with them. It is not exclusive. It is, and
Okay.
it is and can be club by club.
Oh
And I
wow.
think, we're at the moment they're all that we do offer, and they're amazing products, and I know the pros love them, the members love them, but I would guess that as we grow we'll probably be offering a larger a
Yeah.
larger selection, let's put it that way. And but we're doing the same thing with shoes right now. We're working with Skechers, and with our apparel, we're working with a brand called M4, which is out of Connecticut, which just does squash, pickle, and paddle. And they're making a bunch of great stuff for us too. But we evaluate stuff as it comes along, and we look at what the membership demands, and try to make the most of that. And I think we learn from club to club, and it's only two clubs, but what we learned in Hyde Park and how that applied to make Norwell better will apply to the next one and the next one, so that we'll continue to iterate and improve. And the merch and the equipment side is definitely part of that.
Yeah, no, and I think you hit the head on the nail about just bringing in multiple kind of manufacturers there, which I think
Yeah,
is smart. A lot of other clubs right now kind of are either doing that or getting in the game in it. And it's funny to see as someone with a former high level long-term tennis background,
yeah,
you used to go to these tennis clubs and every brand you could think of was on the wall.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's funny how pickleball is kind of taken a while to adapt to that. But what I did want to ask, kind of on the duper front, is I know you
mhm,
guys have been doing a variety of duper things, like duper
yep,
open plays,
yep,
duper sessions. I know
yep,
you've had some stuff with Honcho.
yep. Hmm.
You know, personal kind of opinions aside, how do you think duper will better help Boston Pickle Club kind of in the future shape kind of the overall playing experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and it's one that we get often. And I think the first thing to say is that, Duper isn't perfect, and they will be the first ones that probably will tell you that. but I think we feel it's they're a good partner, and it we feel it gives us the best opportunity to give our members the best playing experience. And once and you know, there's a lot of folks who are new to Duper, and I'm watching it, you know, happen less so now, but definitely when we were just opening in Norwell, who are resistant to you know, the entire premise of it, who I think have since figured out, you know, that as you play more, as you make sure you stay on top of your scores and who you're playing against, it ultimately is an accurate, or the most accurate representation of how you play. And because of that, and the way we offer in our programming, you know, our tournaments and our leagues and our open plays, it does give them a better, more competitive, more even playing field when they're out there playing. And I think when they're going somewhere else, or to a tournament or whatever else, I think they feel, you know, they feel that they're armed with a decent, you know, objective rating for who they are. And I think we try to be, you know, we try to have our cutoffs for tournaments. For example, if the cutoff is, you know, 3.49, the cutoff is 3.49, because we need to make it black and white, because it's just the way it needs to work, particularly when you have, you know, almost 1,500 members. You can't start, you know, making it gray or mushy. So for better or for worse, I think Duper is you know, who we're gonna stick with. And you know, obviously everybody is tooled, from the front desk to the pros to anyone else who's there, to help and to ask questions, and to, you know, give people advice on, you know, what to do, or to how to get to your optimal rating as fast as possible, you know, et cetera, et cetera. There's certainly a lot of questions, and that'll never go away. So it just sort of it is what it is. But I think I think we feel that it's the best, certainly the best option for us, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, I mean, it's it's funny because, you know, I know we get complaints and all that about it as
Hmm.
well, but whenever people complain to me about it, I say, well, what would you rather use? And
Exactly.
then it's that answer
Yeah.
is never the same. It's always something different,
Yeah.
and it's not usually an alternative that would work for the masses. And
Exactly.
so, you know,
Yeah.
I th also think that with Duper, especially in this area, like they just need more data. Like
That's
there's
right.
not enough actual data in there of legitimate competitive
Yep.
tournament play
Yep.
for the masses. And
Yep.
so
Yep. And
kind
that's
of
part of, yeah, the reality of where we are, for sure. But you're right, that there isn't really a viable alternative. So it's all about how you optimize what you have. And then ultimately, you know, when they show up for a tournament that's 3-0 to 349, it's an awesome tournament, you
yeah.
know, and they play, you know, 10 matches and they win six and lose four, and it's awesome, and their Duper goes up. And I that's where I think it comes around for people, when they actually see movement, and based on multiple matches against, you know, all this different competition. You go into the app, which is actually pretty good, and you can go in there and see how you're going up and down based on your scores and who you're playing. And I think they appreciate the rigor that's in the algorithm, because it does make sense. But you know, there's always going to be people that are not on board. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
Anyways, diving in.
Right.
So I know that you're an avid pickleball player yourself. I
Hmm.
know that you went to nationals in 2022. How was that experience?
Well, I mean, the reality of that, one of the guys I was talking about earlier, a buddy who we started looking for places to play, he joined the board of USA Pickleball.
Wow. Okay.
And he was able to back us into that tournament, basically. So we went there, you know, feeling like we were legitimate self-rated players who could hold our own. And what ended up happening is, and it was in Indian Wells. I mean, absolutely, that's like a fake setting to play any sport out there in Palm Springs in November. It's just spectacular. Um, we ended in our first match. We ended up getting called for 6 foot faults in the
Oh my
kitchen and on
goodness.
the serve. So that match was over before it started, and after that we were just playing scared, and we were used to a let's just say driving centric style of playing. I'm playing against all these guys who from warm weather who play 6, 8 times a year and just dink everything until you screw up and walk away without breaking a sweat. So it was eye opening from that perspective because I think it showed that there's a lot of nuance and strategy to the game beyond just being able to run around and hit the ball hard. And that's the first thing you hear from all of our pros too, particularly when you're trying to get better is take a breath and slow it down. You're going to get your opportunities to score those points, but it's thinking about it in a whole more strategic way and deploying those more physical actions more strategically. But it was a great experience because at that point, this is back in 22, I think. The sport was just starting to really take off, and there was some awesome crowds in the show court for the pros, and we ended up randomly warming up with a couple of them who just wanted to hit. So it was really cool for me, and I think it sort of anchored the sport for me at least going forward is something that I wanted to continue to play and get better at. But I'd love to go back again, and I think that's I'd love to now that I'm more sort of entrenched in the sport as a job. Um, I'm definitely up for finding new opportunities to play, that aren't necessarily local. Because it's not only fun and great for me, from a playing perspective, it's also now professional research because it all has sort of relevance looking at, what's all these facilities and, what they're seeing and what challenges they might be facing. We try to get that type of intel anywhere we play.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it spot on the nail there for sure. I couldn't
Hmm.
agree more with that. Which does lead me next to kind of more of a personal question, but how
Sure.
often do you find yourself playing now that you're full-time pickleball?
Well, I probably play 4 to 5 times a week. If I wasn't doing this job, it would probably be 3 to 4. Particularly at now with this new facility. I mean, it's open 6 to 10. We got massive groups that have contract time in both. Literally, I played at 6 this morning. I play with a group on Monday nights at 7:30. And then I always have my gear with me when I'm work because we have an office in Norwell that I work out of. So if someone doesn't show up for contract time or whatever, I'll step in and do that. And I'm always looking, and I think people know it's one of those things. You're in a club with all these people, you now have this new social network of folks that you didn't know before that you share the sport with, who are always now reaching out and saying, "Hey, can you play? Can you play?" And that's really what the model is about. It's super cool, particularly folks who are coming down from Boston or a little bit further away, and aren't in the community per se, but are like, I want to find people that are roughly my level and are cool and want to play with me. So it's like, I mean, I'd play every day, if I could. I mean, my body might not like that, but that's one of the reasons playing on that great surface, it is super noticeable versus anything else. I mean, I notice it if I play for 2 hours, it's a huge difference. And I love that part of it too, because it's like the longevity of the sport. And I'm over 50, so it's like, I see myself playing this till I can't walk. And I think that's a sort of a cool message for people, that, you can stay active, you can stay communal, you can have friends, you can stay connected, And you can have fun. I mean, that's, pickleball's so unique in that way that there's just no barrier of entry to get into it, and it's really what you make of it. And the participation numbers reflect that,
Oh, for sure. For
right?
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know
I
I'm
mean,
telling you stuff you know
no,
are better
it's
than
good
I, but
because
it's
there's the beauty of that is there's going to be someone that listens that might not know that, and
yeah,
that's where they get it. You and
that's right.
I know that. I know that much. And so,
That's
but
right.
that's just because we're very entrenched in pickleball in a variety of ways,
Yes.
work-wise and personally. And so, but anyways, no, I think that's great. And it kind of leads a little bit into my next question. I know
Sure.
you mentioned, Boston Pickle Club now has two locations.
Yep.
I know they're looking to expand, but kind of for the audience of what you can say,
Yep.
has there been any other kind of confirmed locations, ideas,
Oh, I mean,
dates,
there's
maybe?
nothing confirmed,
Okay.
but I wouldn't be surprised if we had a new location opening up before the end of the calendar year.
Okay. That's
And
quick.
we are always looking for the next Boston Pickle Club as well. And the other real unique part of this model too, it is not just, Stevie and Johan as partners in this whole endeavor have all their obvious genius when it comes to the sports side, the instruction side, the programming side, the relationships, all of it. But we have this this massive group of business advisors from venture capital, investment banking, real estate in particular, who are real key to making everything work and making the business viable and making sure that our pricing is correct and that our leases are good and that our build outs once we land on the spot is done economically and done right. And our partners we're giving them good deals, but we're getting fair value back from them. That sort of business acumen behind the scenes is great because it allows everyone else who's in the front of the house, working with the members and driving the experience to be focused on that. And I think it's, and everyone, there's a lot of investment in the idea. There's always a hope of some type of exit event at some point. But I think, we're building a business. Norwell was, made money in its first month, which is pretty crazy considering the size of that place and the overhead that comes with it. So we're super encouraged by where it's going, but we're not resting on anything. We know there's going to be more competitors in there. We really don't feel like we have a real competition. I mean, there's obviously lots of places you can play, but one that's so focused on pickleball and elevating sort of that pickleball playing in club experience. It's not about food and beverage. It's not about all the other things you can do at a multi-sport fitness club or a tennis club. So we really want to get as many of these open as fast as possible, and sort of have 3, 4, 5,000 members all playing in a connected string of clubs. I mean, Hyde Park and Norwell members can go either place, and the next one opens, you can do that too, and that's a really cool amenity. And we're gonna build leagues around that too, which will be fun. So you can have away and home matches against different clubs, and it's super fun. So look for some news, in the next couple months about, what's happening, but we're super active looking at places for, clubs 4, 5, and 6, let alone 3. So if you
Yeah,
got any
no,
space,
and
if you got any spaces, hit me up.
I'll email you. I'll email you. I have one or two locations
Yeah.
that I think you guys could possibly expand
Oh,
to.
that's
But
fantastic.
it's getting tricky these days, man. There's
It
a
is.
lot of new clubs coming in or already in or on the way in. And so, it can be tricky about, do you want to be close to that? Do you want to be far from that? There's a whole
100%.
variety of things.
100%.
But yeah, I definitely will chat offline about
Yeah,
that.
no,
But
I mean we're open to looking at anything. Obviously the whole everything's gotta make sense. But now that we have two openings under our belt, I think we know a little bit more about what works and what might not. But it's there's no two that are the same. I mean, I think of Norwell is like such a home run just because of the its location, not only right off of Route 3, but in this a business commercial space with 100 parking spots. I mean, it's as convenient can be. And I think members like that. They come in, they want to be able to park and get out and go play, and not have to deal with what I think can be a pain in the butt. That's at some other places. Whatever it is they're doing, we want to be a sort of an oasis for them, where it's just get out of your car, go in and enjoy yourself playing pickle.
one thing I will say, just because I'm sure there are going to be some on here that might not have gone to a Boston Pickle Club yet, and it's something
Yep,
that you and I both know, Mike, is that the way the social areas are designed, you're not
yep,
actually cutting in between courts like you are a lot of clubs to go on court. You
nope,
have an area to wait. There's
yep,
usually the warm-up walls as
yep,
well and stuff like that, which is something that I certainly appreciate as someone
yep.
that goes early to their sessions and warms up beforehand and all that. I know a lot of people do as well. And it's a more of a kind of space in which you can just exist, especially for something like a tournament that, again, you and I both know those are long things normally. They're not
They
quick
are.
usually. And so you want somewhere where you can sit, relax, get some water, maybe some food in you. And so,
Yep.
I do appreciate that you guys, along with some of these other clubs as well that are coming in, are starting to realize that and specking out more kind of accordingly to those things when you build these clubs. And so I think that's great. And yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to shout that out just
No, I
because,
appreciate it. I mean, you should check
I
out
think it's
Norwell because
important.
the Norwell space is taken to a whole another level. And the way the courts are laid out, it's a group of three, then a group of four, and then a group of three, and there's common spaces in between, but one huge area that has a bunch of TVs and
Mhm.
comfortable couches and a little workout stretching area. It has a Yola ping pong table. And we had, I think for the opening, we probably had 300 or 400 folks in there very comfortably. We had 10 tables set up for local restaurants to sample food and stuff, and it worked out great. You never know till you do it. But I think you're right. I think having space where you can sit down and put your stuff in a locker, or go take a shower in a nice bathroom, hang your stuff up outside the court goes a long way. Because I think people are just used to coming in and throwing their stuff down because that's all you could do. But you do it because that's what you do to play when you're playing pickle. But I
Oh
think
yeah. I
people don't
mean,
know what
that's
they're missing until they see it.
yeah.
I think that's like for me as a marketer, all I'm trying to do is get people to walk through the door. They walk through the door, you got them. They'll look around, they'll get on a court. There's like, I can't get this anywhere else. It's awesome. I'm coming back. So you don't really have to sell them beyond just trying to get them to come back more by giving them a lot of opportunities to play, whether it be a tournament or a league or a social or whatever, a drop in. Give them a lot of options to come in, plan an event there. That's a big focus. We're going to do summer camps in the summer too, as a way to keep everything busy. So a lot of activity and opportunities to play for the whole family.
Now, one thing I am curious about, and it might be something you guys have thought of,
Yeah.
that you mentioned summer is, do you think eventually you guys will ever ponder doing the, I'll call it the former tennis country club setup of doing outdoors and indoors as
It's
well, or
been
just
it's
solely
been it's
the,
been floated for sure. I think the model at the moment is really focused on indoor, and a lot of it is just because of all those factors we talked about.
yeah,
Trying to get something done is just so easier said than done. But in the entrepreneurial spirit of the Boston Pickle Club, we look at every deal on the face value of the deal. And if it's something that, Johan and Stevie feel like can be a value add to the membership, or in some way can be a relevant pivot for the model, we'd consider anything. But I think, the beauty of being able to play inside year round, no noise issues, totally controlled environment, is really why people are coming. But we look at anything. Long answer, but I think we'd never just say outright no to anything. We'll certainly, evaluate anything that comes our way. It's just not central to what we're doing now.
I got you. Yeah, I was curious. I
Yeah,
didn't think so. No
people have
real club
asked,
has kind of gone the both yet.
but there
And
could
so,
be, opportunities to maybe, license something or loan some pros out. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's all, it's sort of the wild, wild west a little bit. But outdoors a whole nother beast. That has a lot of unpredictability and risk, I guess, if you're going into it hard. I mean, I'd be. You tell me this. I mean, do you see big multi-court outdoor pickleball focused facilities popping up?
well, facilities, no.
Yeah.
People taking over park courts and park courts
Yeah.
getting converted, yes.
Yes.
But
Right.
again, I don't in this area at least there's maybe one or two I can think of, and they're not
Yeah.
necessarily pop-ups that've been around for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see. I think if you put it in the right area and you market it the same way, it's
Sure.
probably got to be through a Parks and Rec, unfortunately, more
Yep.
so than a club at
Yep.
first.
Yep.
But there could be something there. But you are right. In terms of like a business, I don't think that that is a sustainable just doing
Yes.
outside in
Agreed.
New England, just due to the severity of the winter here.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so, but you know, it's again, it's just curious to see. I know a lot of tennis clubs in this area, they do like, whatever, 4 to 6 outdoor courts, then they do like another 6 to 8 indoor or whatever, like some
Yep.
combination of that, and that's how they've done it, and that's just because that's how they've always had it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
like, I was just curious if you guys, again, like I'd
Yeah,
asked
no,
on that front. So
nothing on purpose. Let's put it that way, right? But I think there'll always be stuff. We'll always get the question, and there'll always be, opportunities that present themselves. But, most of our time and effort is focused on, getting the membership experience in the clubs and expanding the clubs, yeah, where it needs to be.
yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, I'll kind of wrap up with this in saying, now that you have two confirmed locations, what are you really excited for most for the new future or near future, sorry, for Boston Pickle Club?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is clubs 3, 4, and 5. I think expanding, and the beauty of opening those new ones too is you're going to be able to point potential members to two clubs that are already online and absolutely killing it. It's not a rendering that you're seeing on a screen of what it could look like or what it will play like or what the lessons will be like or what the experience will be like. We'll tell people to go. Come check out Hyde Park. Come check out Norwell. This is what's coming to you. I think that's super exciting to me because it allows them to experience and gets excited about an experience versus what was more in the past a more of a sales, it was more of a sales pitch about all the great things that it's going to be. And, people reacted to that and, came to Norwell in droves. But I think the other side of that coin is that there just isn't a lot of options in a lot of places for this product that we have. So I'm continually excited to get, for me, it's just getting new people constantly into the facility, seeing how some of them absolutely go overboard into the sport and are there we see them there every day.
Yeah.
At some point, they're getting there when they can get there. They're
Uh,
taking lessons. They're playing and they're playing everything they can play in. They're coming from Boston, and it's like it's not like they're down the street. It's like they're making a concerted effort because they love it.
Yeah.
So being able to sort of see that proof in real time on the courts at all from 6 until 10 at night is probably the thing that I love. I think in terms of new things at the club, I think branching into more interesting and cool programming is exciting. Doing some tournaments with third parties is super exciting. Getting some big corporate partners is we're working on that now. Involved in, sponsoring certain properties within the club, and having them sort of get value out of that is also super exciting because I think, they're all looking for ways to get into the sport and get access to the membership and their buying power. So being able to offer that up to, I think will be exciting. But there's, it was a super perfect time for me to join the whole endeavor, just because it's scaling in real time, but we're just we're in the third inning of the whole endeavor, so there's a lot left to go. And frankly, we're in the third inning of pickleball in New England too. I mean, we're just
Yeah.
we're
I
just
mean,
starting
for some of us, it's like the fourth or the fifth. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like there were some early days there, 2018,
Yeah,
2019, where like it was a different scene to what it is now, and you
yeah,
you can attest to some of that. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I
No,
mean,
but
it's
it's
nice to see though. I listen, I'm a proponent of just more of it in general, the more the better. I haven't been
agreed.
anywhere where I'm like,
Yep,
wow, I'm so annoyed there's a pickleball court there, you
yep,
know? And so and the noise thing, I will attest like a lot of the companies and manufacturers are aware of it. They're working on it. There's, the new quiet category, stuff like that. I know they're finally starting to do work to the ball, which
yep,
I really wish we had done more of like 4 or 5 years ago, but
yep,
better late than never is what I would
yep.
say on that. But I think once that really gets fixed, I don't really think it's going to matter what paddle you use as long as
Yeah,
the ball doesn't sound like a pinging noise, you'll be fine. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you know, I definitely appreciate the time, Mike. Thank you.
Sure.
And if you have anything else you want to say, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I would, I'm assuming folks that are watching you are into the game at some level, and if have any close proximity to either Hyde Park or Norwell, come on down, and you don't have to be a member. You just got to download the app and come and play. Or if you want to reach out and connect with me too, you want to get a crew together, whatever the case may be. Again, like I said before, all I want you to do is come in and walk through the door. And we feel pretty confident. To your point about all these other new places to play pickleball, I agree. I think it's a great thing because we feel really good about
Yeah.
our offering, and the more people that play, the more people that are gonna find us. So that I would just end by saying, come and check us out and look for, some announcements in the next couple months about where we may be popping up next.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.